Hey guys, you don't have anything better to do? All right, well, let's talk a little bit about shit hits the fan. Without being paranoid, shit hit the fan. Shit hits the fan will happen. Not maybe. It's more than probable. It's going to happen. Anytime you have a natural disaster, excuse me, Katrina, LA riots, a good one. Hurricanes, any kind of, and it's not isolated to the Philippines or Indonesia. Go on YouTube and do what I did. Look at some of these videos of aftermath. Even the Hawaii hurricane Iniki that I lived through. Shit hit the fan pretty much right away. A couple of days you were already, either you're staying in your home or you're kind of taking your chances. So what I was looking at made me kind of laugh, and I look at YouTube videos because I'm kind of looking for comic relief sometimes. Now, without rule of law, those are the two big ones. Shit hits the fan and without rule of law. Well, shit hits the fan to me is something that you may encounter. In fact, there's a good chance you will. And so when you're talking about that, it kind of makes me laugh. Some of these guys with there's one guy I watched last night. He's got the battle jacket and the bulletproof vest and magazines sticking out of his what, and he's got the war scarf on, and that's fine. I mean, I don't mean to make fun of it. I wore all that stuff. It served a purpose when we were out in the bush, and when you're out in the bush and you're crawling through trees, then that stuff's great. But what about for 90% of the people in the cities, the suburbs, where these disasters take place? You don't see a whole lot of footage of guys looting out in the middle of the forest in Arkansas. You just don't see it. So where do you see these things happen, and where do most people live? Well, most people live in the cities, the suburbs. I live out here in the suburbs, but I'm surrounded by neighbors and people. So when the shit hits the fan, are you really going to throw all that camo stuff on and strap your AR-15 on your back and your battle helmet and run out and Rambo it? Well, maybe you will, but we're going to talk a little bit about practicality and reality. I always talk about reality. Whatever situation you find yourself in or you think you might, look at what reality is, okay? And if it doesn't apply to you, you're kind of wasting your time. So, I keep going back to I don't need an ice pick, man, in the desert. I'm not going to need one. And if I need one, I'm going to have to find one when I get to it because I'm not carrying the extra weight. So think about reality. And the reality is, if you live in a city or the suburbs and your bug out you might not live near the woods. You throw on all this camo stuff, and in a shit hits the fan situation, there's cops, there's National Guard, in the beginning, and usually they'll quell everything down, they'll calm everything down, and in most cases, you'll get through that initial 1-2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. Even Katrina, after a period of time, order was restored. So you didn't move on to that without rule of law. You might have had pockets of it, but when people talk about without rule of law, I think of there's just no law anywhere. So to me, it's more, where are you? What's going on around you? Realistically, what do you need to do? And probably you don't need to throw on the Rambo costume right away because you're going to stick out like a turd in a punch bowl, man. And in my experience, I want to blend. I'm going to move in and out quietly. I'm going to avoid any confrontation. If I have to, I can defend myself. And I mean, I'm right now in my urban camo. I mean, just a guide shirt, some jeans. And I go out and walk around in and out of crowds, and I got no problem. The cops see a guy, or the National Guard see a guy with a AR-15 on his back, all camoed out. You're the first guy they're going to come and disarm. So I'll stand up, and I mean, this is pretty plain. Just my normal, just a shirt, jeans, and I mean, if look, easy reach, and that's going to take care of business. And if that doesn't, then down in the pocket, and that is going to take care of business. So, and both of those firearms have been checked to ensure that they are loaded at all times. So, you know, there's a few things you want to always have in back pocket, you know, no matter whether it's, ooh, yeah, that's 2,000 lumens, day or night, you know. You need to have a knife, you need to have your light, because you never know. And getting stranded or having a disaster, you know, isn't for in the daylight hours. So anyway, I'm camouflaged to move in and out of my, you know, my surroundings right now. And in a shit hits the fan situation, there may come a time when I need to be on my roof defending it. And again, watch the LA riot videos and watch who didn't get looted. Look at who didn't get looted. It was the Korean guys standing up on their roofs. And that's me. Well, I'm not Korean, but I might be standing on my roof. And so, you know, it's funny because I find it ironic, like a lot of my family members live in California, LA, and big cities that are, geez, they're the most dangerous, I think, in our country. Some of them, I mean, LA's it's a mean city in some parts, and they live there, and they have the strictest gun laws I know of. And look at the videos of people being pulled out of their cars. This is in our lifetime. This happened. And people just looting. Normal people that probably are okay people, but the mentality just when shit hits the fan, I've seen it happen, the mentality changes. It becomes like a group, a mob mentality. And people who wouldn't do things find themselves doing things just mindlessly, looting, and things they'd never do. I mean, look at the Katrina videos where you're in 4 feet of water and people are raiding shoe stores, man. What are you going to do with soaking wet feet? I don't know. It's this mentality that creeps in, and that's really the danger. Is you've got bad people that are truly bad that'll try to kill you, but you get that mentality going, and everyone becomes desperate, and it's almost like everyone's doing it. It's okay, you know. So I've seen that happen. So the shit hits the fan. I don't know where you live. If you're in California, there's a huge earthquake. You know, my brother lived down in Northridge when that big quake came through, and they had problems. I keep going back. The LA riots, Katrina, these are all in our lifetimes when, you know, people who think it won't happen here, it might, and in time it will. Where, you know, there will be a situation where you're going to see on the news, and it's one of those not in my backyards. Well, I've been in that yard, and I probably will be again. So it's a matter of being prepared and understanding what's going to happen. You know, I've got water. I don't want to have to go out. You know, when even if it's just a matter of, you know, an earthquake and people freak out and go running for gasoline and lining up, and that's where the issues take place, or in those lines and amongst the people. So I don't want to have to do that. So I've got a couple 100 gallons of fresh water. So what? I don't even think about it. It's in my garage. Every couple years I'll rotate it out. But I've got it. I've got, you know, a certain amount of food that I don't have to go outside. I don't want to go outside. And if I have to, maybe I'll have to stand on my roof. and if I have to, I will. So it just, what the point I'm making in this video is, you know, again, I don't see a lot of people, or at least it doesn't seem to me that they're realistic. Especially, guys, I'm not telling you what to do. If you live in the Arctic, I don't know nothing about Arctic camouflage, man. And well, you know, I have spent some time in the Arctic, and there are certain skills you need. But in these cities, probably 99% of these people don't go camping. A lot of them never served in the military. You might get a few Boy Scouts if you're lucky, but what are they going to really do when, look at Katrina again, watch the people walking down the freeway ramps with nowhere to go, saying, where do we go? What do we do? I need water. I need food. My kid's sick. And thousands and thousands. And where are the people to help us? Who's going to help us? Well, I got the answer to that. You're going to help you. And if you don't, then you're just like the rest of those people. I've got medicine. I've got food. I've got protection. And so maybe I'll be the guy that spent several $100s on shit I never need. But, you know, my thing is, I'd rather be the idiot who bought all that stuff, you know? I'd rather be the idiot that bought all the stuff than the genius that needs it, you know? I'd rather be an idiot. Look at all that crap you've got. Idiot? Okay, fine. Or, you know, you can be the, you know, I don't want to be the genius that needs it, man. So, what I say to you is think about where you're at. And if you are in the Arctic, or if you are along the ocean, there's a whole different set of things that can happen. But when they do, the result's going to be somewhat the same. People are going to need to go to areas where there's stuff, and people are going to need that stuff. And most places that have that stuff are places you don't want to be, you know, when people don't have the stuff. You want to have the stuff. So if that means, you know, bug out bag full of supplies, then get it. It's not expensive. If that means that you need to have that assault pack and the camo stuff because you're out of here, you're a single guy and you're not going to wait around, and it's just you needs to, you know, go do what you need to do. If you're a family, you need to think differently. If you're in the suburbs, you need to think differently. Running out into the middle of the desert, for me, what am I going to do? Eat coyote? Well, if I have to. Never tasted that. I bet the ribs are good if you cook them right. You know, scorpions. I mean, if you have to, you can, but keep in mind that 90% of the time or more, you're going to have to withstand an initial onslaught of not having certain things, people freaking out that don't have them. And if you withstand that first initial part of it, most times your wonderful government will come in, and, you know, the National Guard, they'll restore order, they'll restore power, water. I've lived through long periods without it after hurricanes, but it eventually comes back. So you're trying to survive that situation, not necessarily that forever I'm going to be, you know, out in the bush, because that would be a difficult thing to do for most people. For a lot of people, they're going to stay nearby enough to get their supplies. You know, if you're not an outdoorsman or a woman and you have no skills, think of all the people in these cities that have no weapons, man. LA, New York, my God, you try to get a weapon there, you get freaking, you probably go to jail for a butter knife in New York, man. And then, you know, every place you name that have the strictest gun laws are the places where you just don't want to be when the shit hits the fan. Because people will not have a way to defend themselves, and the bad people will rule. It comes right back to everyone talking about the gun control thing. And in my state, my handguns need to be blue carded, and not registered, but blue carded, which is registration. They have a record of what I've got. In Katrina afterwards, they came out, and what happened? Well, they went after these people, and they took away their guns. And how did they know they were there? They were registered, man. So some of mine is, and my rifles don't need to be, and they're not. So those are going to be somewhere where you're not going to get to them, you know. But again, camouflage. You know, I personally don't put stickers of my AR-15 on my car to show you I got one. I don't walk around with an NRA hat on all the time. When I come from the range, I'll even wait and not walk in with my gun bags if neighbors are out. It makes them uncomfortable for one thing, and on top of that, they don't need to know what I've got. I don't advertise it. It's another form of camouflage. When the time comes that you need the stuff, you've got it. You don't have to show everyone you've got it, or you might not have it for long. So just another form of camouflage is not telegraphing that you've got thousands of dollars worth of ammo and guns. That just, to me, marks you. So as far as the shit hits the fan, without rule of law, this is more about shit hits the fan. And it will happen. It might not happen to you if you're lucky, but if it does, it would be pretty smart to be ready. So again, it's Dan the Man in the Man Cave. Hope you liked the video. Leave a comment if you would. Subscribe if you will. There'll be more coming. And you have a good day. Aloha.